Well, hi guys, it's that time. It's our Bible teaching snippet of the day. Well, as you know, I've been in Israel and I've got my other t-shirt on. This is the last one. I bought 3 t-shirts while I was there, and this just simply says Israel on it. Today I want to go over to one of the sites that we did get to see, and the name of it is called the Pool of Bethesda. It's right close to walking distance, like just maybe 50 yards away, is the St. Anne's Cathedral. And St. Anne, and that's spelled A-N-N-E, that is Mary, Jesus' mother. That would be Mary's mother, okay? Now, according to the historical accounts, Mary's mother and father died when she was just a little girl, and she was raised within the temple as basically an orphan, okay? But what was really interesting about the Pool of Bethesda for me this time, the other 2 times I went to Israel, I did go over to that site, but I have never heard the tour guide actually explain the Pool of Bethesda like Gary Crossland did. He is the one that put the tour together here in the United States. So he was our tour guide from the United States. But there was also, like I said earlier, a local man by the name of Habib, who is he lives in Israel, and he is a Christian. But anyway, Gary Crossland explained this, and I want to take you over to the Gospel of John today in John chapter 5. And this is where the Pool of Bethesda is talked about in the Bible. Now, I have taught this in the past. I'm not sure exactly how long ago. I would say it's been 2 to 3 years ago. I took some online courses from a Hebrew university in Israel, and it was available and it was live. Everybody that signed up for it had to log on at a certain time to listen to the instructor teach. And this is what I learned back in 2014 about the Pool of Bethesda. And I was very surprised that Gary Crossland actually taught this exactly the same way as the instructor did 2014 when I took these courses. So basically the Pool of Bethesda, it's 5 different porticos, okay, and they're all connected. And so let me just read a little bit of this account to you real quick. And this is John chapter 5. I'm starting in verse 1. And after these things, there was a feast of the Jews. Now, it doesn't say what type of feast it was, and they're not sure exactly which feast it was at the time. And Jesus went up to Jerusalem, and in Jerusalem, near the Sheep's Gate, there is a pool, and one being called Bethesda, in Hebrew, having 5 porticos. And in these porticos, a multitude of the ones being sick were laying down, blind ones, lame ones, withered ones. And there was a certain man there having 38 years in his sickness. Jesus, having seen this one lying down, and having known that he had already had a long time in his sickness, says to him, "Do you want to be healthy or healed?" And the one being sick answered him, "Sir, I do not have a man to put me into the pool when the water is stirring up. But while I am going, another goes down before me." And Jesus says to him, "Arise, pick up your cot, and walk." And immediately the man became healthy and picked up his cot and began to walk. Now, I want to stop right here, and I want to tell you that in the King James Version of the Bible, you will see a couple of verses in there, verse 4, that talks about the pool being stirred up. Let me see if I can pull that little footnote up real quick. Let's see if I've got it here. And it says, some manuscripts add this verse, "For an angel in due season was going down in the pool and stirring up the water. Then the first one, having stepped in after the stirring up of the water, was becoming healthy for whatever disease that he was indeed being afflicted." Now, according to everything that I have studied, as well as the courses I took back in 2014, we know that verse 4 was added in by a scribe later on, that it's not in a lot of the older manuscripts. But we believe that a scribe added that in to explain why everybody was laying around these pools. And now I'm going to explain to you why they're laying around this pool. In the day of Jesus, now Rome had already been in control of Jerusalem, or the Holy Land, for 70 years. Sometimes we believe that, there's only one religious group there called the Jews, who were Judaism, right? And that's simply not true. There was very many different sets of Jews that believed different things. Just like right now today in the United States, I believe the last count, it's about 32,000 different denominations, and none of them actually believe the same. Now, when I say denominations, some churches call them non-denominations, but they are included in different church groups that believe different things, but they all claim to be Christian, okay? So there were many different Jewish sects. That's going to be sects, sects or sections of Jews who actually followed the God of Israel, but they all did not believe the same thing. And I'll refer back real quick to how I was teaching about how the Essenes, the Ebionites, and the Nazarenes were all vegetarians, nor did they believe in the slaughtering of animals per the Mosaic law. They felt like that had been changed, the lying pen of the scribes, according to Jeremiah, and that God never ordained or wanted the sacrifices to be done, and that God never wanted mankind to eat any animals. So see, we have all different kinds of belief systems going on. Now, by the day of Jesus, we not only have different sects of Jews with different beliefs that all believe in the God of Israel, but have different specific beliefs about him, okay? We also have a lot of Roman and Greek gods that are in Jerusalem now. Since they have done some archaeology studies there and some digging, they have found little statues of Asclepius, and I'm probably not saying it correctly, but he is the Greek god of healing, okay? And here's a picture of him. I just printed that off for you so you could see what I'm talking about. So the swirling of the water, okay, this was not in reference to God sending an angel to heal somebody, but this is actually a pagan worship center where people are laying at these pools waiting for this Greek god to move and to send one of his angels in so they can get their healing. But here's the key. You had to be the first one in the pool. When the water was stirred, the first one that got in was healed. And that's what the man was telling Jesus, right? So with Asclepius, what the thing is, and this is what I was taught in my classes, is that when the pool would get dirty, okay, they would pull the plug on that and it would cause a swirling because they would empty out the pool and then would pump from the aqueduct that was built by King Herod the Great. They would refill the pool, but that swirling was not an angel, but it was actually the emptying out of that pool. And people thought the first one to get in was the one who would get healed. So this is what I want to leave you with today. I want you to think about this. Okay, so you got all these different pagans out there, non-Jews, laying at this Pool of Bethesda with their little statues of this Greek god, praying to him, begging him to heal them, but they know he's only going to pick one to get healed. So Jesus comes through and he sees, nonetheless, an Israelite, not a Gentile, not someone outside of the covenant of God of Israel, right? He sees this Israelite in a pagan worship center waiting on an angel to swirl the water so he can get healed by a pagan god, a false God, I should say, as well. So what Jesus does, he goes right over there to that Jewish man or Hebrew man, Israelite, and he heals that man. And of course, now we know he's an Israelite because the minute that Jesus tells him to pick up his mat and walk, he does exactly what Jesus does. And the very first place this man goes is to the temple to show himself to the priests. And now watch this. The priests get angry because he's not supposed to be up and walking around and carrying his mat with him. They're not happy that the man's healed. They're upset because the man is breaking the rules of what they had set in place about the Sabbath. Now, these are not rules that you find in the Torah or the first 5 books of the Bible that are attributed to Moses, okay? But instead, these are rules that the religious leaders had made up and wanted people to follow. And so they go through being angry at him and getting on to him, threatening him basically, questioning his parents. And his parents are like, he's a grown man, you can talk to him, right? And he says, look, the man that healed me told me to pick up my mat and walk. But later Jesus sees the man, right? And he says, oh, I see that you are well. Go and sin no more, lest a worse thing come upon you. Now, we have this really crazy idea of what Jesus was trying to say to the man, like, okay, he's got to live a perfect life from now on, because if he commits one more sin of any type, he's going to be sick again. And actually what Jesus was telling the man, whatever you were doing to get in the condition you are in, when I saw you at the Pool of Bethesda, don't go and do that anymore. And guys, I must be really straight and honest with you today. Out of the 10 years that and it's about 10 years now, maybe 9, that I've gone about teaching on healing, praying for people over the phone, over the internet, holding healing meetings, going to hospitals and homes. The one thing that I find is that people do not want to stop what they did to get themselves in the condition they're in. And by that, what I mean, well, when people overeat and they have back trouble because they're overweight, they don't want to stop eating. Sometimes their diet and what they are eating is the cause of their sickness because they're not eating a healthy diet. And then again, you have folks that are drinking or smoking. They overdrink, I should say, heavy amounts of alcohol that makes them sick. Many times people will get healed of lung cancer, but they won't quit smoking and they get sick again. Many times I see this. I could give you example after example, and after I lay hands on someone and they get healed, 2 or 3 weeks later after I talk to them on and off, I tell them, well, now is a good time for me to talk to you about maybe changing some of your lifestyle choices. And 9 times out of 10, guys, what they'll say to me is, oh, no, I don't need to do anything. Jesus has my back. And that, my friends, is a wrong answer. That's a wrong answer. If God has told me to talk to you about your health issues and for you to adjust something, maybe you should take some advice. I mean, if you're sick enough and desperate enough that you would call somebody for them to lay hands on you, to heal you, and to pray for you, and then they talk to you out of loving kindness to tell you, hey, let's talk about what got you in the condition you're in, we should maybe listen to that person and pray about that instead of just looking at it like a spoilt brat. That's what I call it, a spoilt little child. Oh, no, I don't need to clean my room. Jesus is cleaning my room. I don't have to take any responsibility. So I hope that what I've talked about today has given you some ideas about what was really going on in John chapter 5, as well as maybe about some of our lifestyle choices. Let's first examine ourselves to make sure that the way that we're living is not the root cause of why we are sick, okay? Well, listen, I love you. And again, let me stop and say this before I get off of Facebook today. I want to thank each and every person that has believed in me and continued to walk with me through my journey of learning and growing deeper in the Word, in our Bible, and learning to know Jesus even better. And thank you so much for sharing the teachings that I post on Facebook. Well, I love you, and I will see you here tomorrow. Bye-bye.